Hola, college football fans. My name's Harry James. This will be a picks selection show for all of the picks and college football games over the weekend. We'll start in my beloved Big 12. Games that highlight this weekend, what about Texas trying to bounce back at Rice, and my Sooners in UCLA at the Rose Bowl? That's a couple of the regional games. The national games, Ohio State is in town at Indiana. Clemson and Syracuse. That's just a couple of them. What about Stanford and Central Florida, our old buddy Josh Heupel? We'll pick all those games, plus many more, next. Boomer Sooner 1982. Don't you dare go away. And welcome back to the show, everybody. My name's Harry James. Let's start in what I want to call one of the better conferences, at least in my opinion. Probably not one of the stronger conferences. Probably not even, as far as entertainment value, probably the best conference. Probably ranking-wise not the best in the Big 12. Let's start there, and we'll go to Kansas at BC. That's Boston College for you non-college football fans. That game will be on Friday night at 6:30 p.m. on the ACC network. I'm going with BC and Boston College. What about the rest of the Big 12? Well, the rest of them will play on Saturday, including a couple of early morning kicks, 11 a.m. In fact, Kansas State will be Kansas's rival Kansas State will be at Mississippi State on the ESPN network. I'm going with Mississippi State and the Bulldogs. North Carolina State at West Virginia, also at 11 a.m. That game's on Fox Sports 1. I'm going with NC State and the Wolfpack. Take a little break in Big 12 action until 2:30, where you will see Okie State at Tulsa. That game's going to be on ESPN2. I'm going with the Aggies of Okie State. 3 o'clock, Fox Sports 1. The game day crew will be at this one. Iowa at Iowa State. I'm going with, for the Cyhawk Trophy, I'm going with Iowa State. Sellouts plenty this year in Ames. Plus a rivalry game. They haven't lost yet, so the Fire is not yet gone from Ames. I'm sticking with Iowa State. 6:30 p.m. the primetime games. TCU at Purdue. That game's going to be on the Big Ten Network. I'm going with the Boilermakers and the Trains. 7 p.m. our old buddies, Oklahoma, will be at UCLA on Fox. Not going to pick a game here. Also at 7 o'clock, CBS Sports Network will have Texas as they try to bounce back at Rice. I'm going with Texas. And finally, Texas' rival Texas Tech will be on the road in the Pac-12 After Dark special dessert time, 9:30 p.m. with Texas Tech at Arizona. ESPN, I'm going with Arizona. That's the Big 12 games for the weekend. The national games look like this. Our buddy Matt Brown, he will be at Wake Forest. UNC at Wake Forest. ESPN, I'm going with Wake Forest. 7 p.m. also, ESPN2 will have Washington State at Houston. Well, it's not really going to be at Houston. It'll be at NRG Reliance Stadium as part of the Advocare Texas Football Kickoff Classic. That's the midweek games. The regular Saturday games start like this. Arkansas, 11 a.m., by the way. Arkansas State at Georgia. I'm going with Georgia. That game will be on ESPN2. Also, The Ohio State University at Indiana. That game will be on Fox. ESPNU will have Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati. I'm going with Cincinnati. Furman at Virginia Tech on part of the ACC network. I'm going with Virginia Tech. Eastern Washington will be at Illinois on the Big Ten network. I'm going with Illinois. And Maryland will be at Temple. As far as the CBS Sports Network game is concerned, I'm going with Maryland. 11:30 a.m., back on the ACC network, you'll be able to see Citadel at Georgia Tech. I'm going with the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. 12 o'clock, another option team, Air Force. They'll be at Colorado, Pac-12 network. I'm going with Colorado. They just upset Nebraska. Look for them to get ranked early this week. 2 games on the new ESPN Plus station that you paid for last week to watch the Oklahoma State game. They are FAU at Ball State. I'm going with Ball State. And Norfolk State at Coastal Carolina. That game is actually going to be on the ESPN3.com network. I'm going with Coastal Carolina. Both games are at 1 p.m., 1:30. NBC, the Notre Dame Broadcasting Company, will have Notre Dame and New Mexico. I'm going with Notre Dame. 2 o'clock, Akron will be at Central Michigan. That game will be on the ESPN Plus network. I'm going with Central Michigan. 2:30, the middle games, the lunchtime games. Alabama, they will be at South Carolina. That game will be on CBS. I'm going with the Crimson Tide. Stanford at Central Florida. That's the game we were talking about earlier on the ESPN. I'm actually going with our old buddy from Oklahoma, Josh Heupel, in Central Florida. CBS Sports Network, East Carolina will be at Navy. As part of the CBS Sports Network, I'm going with Navy. ESPNU, Memphis at Alabama State. I'm going with Memphis. The NFL Network will have Army at Texas San Antonio. I think Army bounces back in this one on the NFL Network. And BYU at USC at BYU. ESPN2 ABC Mirror. I'm going to go with USC. Georgia Southern at Minnesota, part of the Big Ten Network. I'm going to go with the Golden Gophers. UNLV at Northwestern. I'm going to go back also on the Big Ten Network. I'm going with Northwestern. 3 o'clock, National Fox, Arizona State at Michigan State. I'm going with Spartacus, and Michigan State. Southeastern Louisiana at Ole Miss on the SEC Network. I'm going with Ole Miss. Also part of the SEC Network, Colorado State at Arkansas. I'm going with the Arkansas Razorbacks. The new Stadium Network will have Louisville at Western Kentucky. I'm going with Western Kentucky. Part of the new ACC Network, the McCookman at Miami. I'm going with Miami. 3:15 Pac-12 games include 3 of them. Idaho State at Utah. I'm going with Utah. Also Pac-12 Network. North Texas at Cal Berkeley. I'm going with Cal. And finally, big Pac-12 Network also, California Poly at Oregon State. I'm going to go with the Beavers of Oregon State. 4 p.m. The new ESPN Plus Network will have Louisiana Tech at Bowling Green. I'm going with Bowling Green. ESPN3 will have Idaho at Wyoming. I'm going with Wyoming. 5 p.m. The new ESPN Plus Networks. 3 of these games. Buffalo at Liberty, ESPN Plus. I'm going with Liberty. UMass at Charlotte, ESPN Plus. I'm going with Charlotte. And Southern Mississippi at Troy, ESPN Plus. I'm going with Troy. ESPN3 also has a game. South Carolina State at USF. South Florida, that is. I'm going with South Florida. That game will be on ESPN3. CBS Sports Network and Facebook. Ohio at Marshall. I'm going to go with Marshall. That's at 5:30. 6 o'clock prime time. Getting there, baby. The 6 o'clock primetime games include Kent State at Auburn, that game will be on ESPN2 or on ESPNU. I'm going to go with Auburn. Florida and Kentucky at Kentucky, ESPN. I'm going to go with Kentucky. Lamar at Texas A&M, the ESPN2 or ESPNU game. I'm going with the Aggies. ESPN3 will have New Hampshire at Florida International. FIU, I'm going with Florida International. Texas State will be at Southern Methodist on ESPN3. I'm going with SMU. Also on ESPN3, Weber State at Nevada. I'm going to go with Nevada. And finally, part of ESPN3, also helping them out there, Murray at Toledo on ESPN3. I'm going with Toledo. Also, Georgia State at Western Michigan. That game's on ESPN+. I'm going with Western Michigan. And finally, Duke will be at Middle Tennessee State on the Facebook or on the Stadium/Facebook network. I'm going with Duke. 6:30. The final games, the dinner games, if you will. Clemson at Syracuse on ABC. I'm going with Clemson. Northwestern State at LSU. That game will be on the SEC network. I'm going with LSU. Pac-12 network will have Hawaii at Washington. I'm going with Hawaii. Southeast Missouri at Missouri. SEC country. SEC network, I'm sorry. I'm going with Mizzou. ACC will have Florida State at Virginia. I'm going with the Cavaliers. And finally, Texas Southern will be at Louisiana Lafayette. I'm going with Louisiana Lafayette. That game will be on ESPN3. 7 o'clock, the primetime games for dinner. Northern Illinois at Nebraska. That game will be on Fox Sports 1. I think Nebraska bounces back pretty quickly. San Diego State at New Mexico State. The Flow Sports Network. I'm going with New Mexico State. Montana State at Tulane. ESPN3. I'm going with Tulane. And two dessert games. The appetizing dessert. 9:15. Portland State at Boise State. ESPN2. I'm going with Boise State. And the big dessert, baby. The ice cream on top of the cake. Montana at Oregon. That game will be at 9:45. And it will be part of the Pac-12 network. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Again, don't take any of these picks to Vegas. But if you do, I'll take a split. 50-50. Does that sound fair? I think it does. Alright guys, thanks for watching. My name's Harry James. You can catch this on all my other videos on YouTube, BoomerStreamer1982. Also on Facebook, Harry James Taylor, or on Twitter, @HypeManHarry. Alright guys, till next week, I'm out of here. See ya. Peace.